Hello, all. Casey Durango here of Go Keto with Casey. Grandmother clock is chiming. Noon. Must be time to talk about keto on a Saturday. Again, my name is Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey, where I like to talk about how I've lost 97.4 pounds since starting the ketogenic diet and how you may be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your lives. Thank you so much for joining. And I appreciate everyone showing up from wherever you might be. And I can see some folks are already chatting. I love that. So I'll just give a quick recognition to some folks who say hello, Jennifer. And hi from Richmond, VA, says Lori. Hello from Long Island. Happy Saturday to everyone from Puyallup, Washington. Hey, Carol, a patron. I do want to say thank you to patrons. Patrons have allowed me to transition from my former long-time 30-year fairly lucrative career to being able to talk about something that I feel is very important. And patrons make that possible. I create a lot of patron-only content, about 20 videos a month, patron-only forum, patron-only live streams, patron-only video group chats, patron-only one-on-ones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So depending on your pledge amount. So I'm going to keep a little link there. So thank you very much. And hey, Ellen, hey from Greensboro. Speaking of Greensboro, if you're in the area a week from Monday, June 10th, we'll have the Go Keto with Casey meetup at Wine Styles at Friendly Center. No admission, no email collection, nothing being sold unless you want to buy some wine at half price, wine by the glass, or a coffee. And just come on, it's 6:15 to 7:30ish. Okay, now to the topic. How much protein should one eat on the ketogenic diet? Excellent question. And I have no idea. Frankly, even people who really know all there is to know about this protocol, when asked, I believe I'm quoting this I'm kind of quoting Dr. Stephen Finney when asked how much protein he eats a day. He says, I don't have no idea. And if I knew, I wouldn't tell you unless you were my clone or my twin. We are all very different. Now, I will read from you a guideline, okay, from Dr. Finney and Volek's book, The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living, just to refresh my memory. This is very broad strokes, recommended daily protein intake. It says, first of all, a well-formulated ketogenic diet is not really that high in protein. We recommend protein between 1.5 and 2 grams per kilogram reference weight, which is 0.7 to 0.9 grams per pound of reference weight. This translates to between 90 and 150 grams per day for a range of adults, which is about what the average adult in the U.S. is already eating. So what does all that mean? By the way, there's not a test at the end of this. You don't need to back up and take notes. That's a big range. No, they're not saying 150 grams if you're a big brawny person and 90 grams if you're runt. It's a range. That's almost a 50% deviation for the recommendation. So what's a person to do? Tell you what, I've never measured or calculated my protein intake, nor my fat intake. I have made sure that I keep my carbohydrate intake, and always have, under 20 total grams a day, or fewer, sometimes far fewer. That's all I measured. And I had to learn what 20 grams of carbohydrate looked like. It's not a half a plate of broccoli, by the way. It's about a cup of non-starchy vegetables, pre-cooked, maximum per day, and about 2 cups of leafy greens, maximum per day. Not 2 cups of cooked spinach, 2 cups of leafy greens, uncooked, maximum a day. So you learn that, and then the rest of the time you just eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satiated. The wonderful thing about the fat and protein is that if we consume fatty sources of protein, that is, consuming the protein that comes with its naturally occurring fat, it works out beautifully. It's satiating. Protein is rather self-limiting with most people. We tend to not feel well if we overeat protein. And let's face it, the amount of protein that is good and feels good for me is different than what my husband feels good on. He can take in a lot more protein than I. He's a dude. He's younger. He has a different body composition. He has a physically demanding job. He'll go on his bicycle and he'll ride for 25, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles at a time. So it just depends on how you feel. We tend to feel unwell if we overeat protein. And keep in mind, this is not a high protein diet, no matter what some would have you believe. So what are you to do? Here's my suggestion. It's okay to have a reference. These are very learned people. But the most learned expert is one's own body. If I eat a lot of skinless chicken breast, which is like pure protein, a chicken thigh has more fat in it, with or without the skin, than chicken breast. So as a general rule, poultry white meat is leaner than poultry dark meat. If I have a lot of skinless chicken breast, I'm going to feel pretty logy after a while. I just don't feel well. So fatty sources of protein: poultry with the skin, eggs with the yolks, steaks, chops, roasts with the fat. Go for the chuck roast, not for the filet mignon. Pork chops with a nice band of fat on them. Marbly meats. The marble is fat. So when you're looking at a steak or a roast, you want those with the most marbling, the streaks of white that you can see. Pork tends not to be streaky, but get fattier cuts of it. Get a pork shoulder and leave all that good fat in there. Lamb with the fat. If you like and can consume dairy, which is not unlimited, high fat, full fat, cheese and dairy. Not milk, but heavy cream. Not skim cheese made with skim milk, but full fat cheese. Full fat sour cream. Full fat cream cheese. Again, not unlimited. But for some reason, we really many of us want to make this protocol very complicated. We want charts and graphs. We want to be told what to eat. We want to be presented with those decisions. We want to know exactly. We get out, an abacus to figure out how many grams of fat and protein. There's some misinformation out there. You do not have to pound back fat. This is not a high fat diet. It's simply whatever is not carbohydrate or protein happens to be fat. And since it's low carbohydrate, it's high fat compared to a low fat diet, if that makes sense. But you don't pound back the fat. If you're consuming extra dietary fat, bulletproof coffee, MCT oils, fat bombs, that's fine if it's working for you. But if you're consuming the fat your body requires for its energy needs, it doesn't need to look to onboard sources of energy, i.e., one of our many chins or upper thighs or bellies. So this is not pound back the fat. This is not a high protein diet. You don't have to have protein shakes. Frankly, I'd rather eat my protein and chew it and enjoy it and savor that ribeye than drinking it. Now, there are people that need more protein for one reason or another, but that is not the norm. If you are someone who needs extra protein, you're an extreme bodybuilder, you're an elderly person, and you've lost your appetite, so you may not be interested in consuming fatty sources of protein. That's a different thing. But for the average, otherwise healthy person with no, specific situations, eat the fat that comes with the protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry, and stop when you're satiated. All the math takes care of itself. It's fantastic. You don't need to purchase one thing to be 100% successful at this protocol. Not one thing. Not a powder. Not a pre-baked good. Not a pre-packaged good. Eat whole foods that simply happen to come, called what they are. Egg. That's a somewhat prepackaged food, isn't it? It generally comes in a shell. But that's about as much packaging as you want. You know what I'm saying? Again, how much protein to eat on the ketogenic diet depends on you. Your stage in life. You know, if you're a female of childbearing age and you're revving up every month to possibly host another life, your needs may be different than mine, where I'm well past that. I'm 61. I'm not revving up to host life. I'm actually revving up every day to actually live my own life, which is a wonderful delight and something I was not looking forward to previously. If you're a muscle-bound guy who's very athletic, your requirements are going to be different than your petite spouses or your best friends. But you don't need to figure it out if you listen to your body. You know, we don't measure our urinary output every day, do we? If someone says, how much urinary output do you have every day? Well, I have no idea. I'm sure I could look up and find out what the average urinary output for a 61-year-old female who's 5 feet 1 inches tall and who is in good health. There might be an average, but I have no idea. I listen to my body. If I don't need to pee, I don't pee. If I do need to pee, I pee. When I'm finished peeing, I'm finished peeing. I stop peeing when I'm done. We don't micromanage things like that. At least most people don't. I guess there are some people maybe out there who have a kind of a fetish. But most of us just do what we need to do and get on with the rest of our lives. Wouldn't it be nice if we could do that with our nutrition as well? Listen to our bodies know. Now I'm going to turn to people who have shown up. And if you have any comments or questions or feedback. Oh, and I can see you guys are talking to each other. Hey, Barbo. Jeremy Bailey. No man or building will save you. No. Okay. Excuse me, I had to take care of a commenter. Hey, Peck. Hey, Casey. I only have 4 more to go. I'm at 49 since last July. Thank you for your support. So you only have 4 more pounds to go? You might want to declare victory and withdraw. 4 pounds. That's as Zoe Harkin would say, that's just one good going to the toilet. Cassidia Cedron says, you simplify everything. Life is good. Life is good. And the simpler we make it, the better, I think. Okay, Casey, is there any connection with the keto diet and having low blood pressure? Asks Peg. Now, you know, I'm not a medical doctor, but I can tell you this. If you are following a well-formulated ketogenic diet and your kidneys are continuing, as they should, to flush a lot of liquid, a lot of water passes through, and you can hear a lot of wildlife in the background, by the way. I hope that's not disconcerting for those of you who have misophonia. I just love it. Anywho, as the sodium goes, if you're a little bit low in sodium helps plump up our blood volume, which is why people with hypertension, high blood pressure, are advised many times to restrict their sodium intake, because you don't want that sodium plumping up the blood volume. If you're getting too little sodium, you can have some low blood pressure. Your blood pressure literally is low because the volume is low. But be careful with that. Dr. Finney recommends 5 grams of sodium a day for those who do not have sodium-sensitive hypertension. You'll need to put pencil to paper to figure out how much that is. Hey, Stacy. Stacy writes, Stacy and Luke love you. Have a great day. Love you right back. Also, Stacy, patron also. Sandy Cloud asks, water. Does boiling water remove the bad chemicals and make it a healthy option? I know that we're told to boil water if it's coming from a questionable source, or if a storm has gone through and there might be backup. I don't know about the chemicals. That I cannot speak to. You can buy reverse osmosis water. I think Whole Foods, you can get it, take your own jug and fill up with water there. You can buy ionized water. You can buy distilled water. That I can't speak to. Someone else might be able to have that information. Tammy writes, when I'm finished peeing, I stop. Yes. We overthink a lot in our lives. You know the old saw. If any of you are parents of more than one child, or if you've seen parents of more than one child, and as my mother said, I'm the 6th of 7. When you have your first baby and they drop their bottle or a pacifier on the floor, you run and you put it in boiling water and sterilize it. And pop it back in their mouth if you use a pacifier. Second baby comes along, oh my gosh, pacifier on the ground, run it under some hot water, stick it back in their mouth. Third kid, you wipe it off on your jeans and stick it back in their mouth. We can overthink everything. We now have a second young flock of chickens. They're actually in a brooder right over there in my kitchen. This is our second flock. We had about 19 chickens previously. I overthought chickens in the first place. I really overthought them. They're chickens. They know what to do. They live everywhere in the world. So this time, I'm much more relaxed. I'm at the wipe the pacifier off on the jeans and pop it back in the mouth. Hey, Nancy. Lovely Nancy. Okay, Nancy, I knew someone would have this. There are many water filtration systems for sale. Check out Amazon. Lots easier than making distilled water. Okay, Thor, God of Thunder, says 5 grams is 1 teaspoon. Thor, depends on your source of sodium. Remember, not 5 grams of salt, 5 grams of sodium. And different forms, different types of salt or sodium have different levels of sodium in them. So you'll want to be careful of that. We happen to use Diamond brand kosher salt. That has 228 milligrams per quarter teaspoon. So that's very close to a gram per teaspoon. But that's of the sodium, not of the salt itself. So just be careful on that. Teacher Paula says, I used to retain water before keto, so I'm scared of having too much salt and look bloated. When I don't know whether you were overweight or not, but I had edema a lot and I retained water. Remember, the more cells you have, the more fat cells, the more opportunities for those cells to retain water. No, I just was bloated all the time, and it felt like I was just walking around with an extra layer, like a water suit on. No, very occasionally I will have what I have labeled seasonal idiopathic edema. Very often in late spring, I'll just retain water. That's been happening since I was in college and was not overweight at that point. It was the 15 minutes of my life where I was actually not overweight. So actually, if you are not sensitive to that, just be careful. You have to find your own balance. Teacher Paula. Excuse me. Always make sure. This is my husband. I want to make sure he landed. He's flying today. Hey. I'm on a live stream. Do you need anything? Okay. Okay, honey. Thank you. Bye-bye. He landed, and he's doing well. Okay. Always want to make sure he landed. Okay, teacher Paula says, yes, I was overweight. Yeah, so the more cells you have, the more opportunities to hold water. I do not retain water now. I love the fact that not only is the fat gone, but where I used to have dimples on my hands, I now have knuckles. I can see, and that's part of that is, I've lost a lot of weight, but also I just don't even have to think about retaining water. And I make sure I get my sodium. The sodium also helps. Now, if you have no symptoms, don't worry about it. Keep doing what you're doing. But I can tend to have nighttime leg cramps. So not only do I make sure that I get my sodium, because the sodium is an electrolyte. So as the sodium goes, sodium is the queen of the minerals and the electrolytes. So can go magnesium and the other It's unusual to have a potassium deficiency. Not so unusual to have a magnesium deficiency. But if you get your sodium regulated, very often that regulates the others. I also take a slow release magnesium chloride supplement. What is that? 192 grams a day. It's 3 pills. I get them from Amazon. And that helps with my nighttime leg cramps. I really like that you guys answer each other's questions. Okay, Norma Martinez. FYI, Berkey water filtration system is probably the best on the market. Missionaries to foreign countries use them. Interesting. Teacher says, a little weak and my legs, sometimes, and my legs a little weak. Make sure that your sodium and your other minerals okay. When people will start this and they'll say, I know I have to go out and get electrolyte water and I'm getting all these additives. Again, if you don't have symptoms, don't worry about it. My husband, no symptoms, no leg cramps, no fatigue, no lightheadedness. He just eats his food. Me, I'm a little bit different. My body chemistry is just that much different. My age is different. My stage of life is different. And we all have things. So listen to your body. For instance, I don't take naproxen sodium every day because I don't have headaches every day. I rarely take it because I rarely get headaches anymore. I don't treat symptoms that I don't have. But sodium is the cheapest, easiest way if you don't have sodium sensitive hypertension to deal with this. Okay. Debbie, doctor says I was plagued with leg cramps at first. Up salt intake and take magnesium daily. Another great thing to do is soak in an Epsom salt bath. That's a wonderful, relaxing, overall way to get some minerals. Our skin is our largest organ, and the minerals absorb through the warm bath. I light a candle, I get a little cocktail or a glass of wine, and I listen to a podcast. Okay, let me see. So does anyone have, hey, Ellie, had to interact listening while I'm driving. Uh-oh, cuidado, mi amor. No se toca cuando está manejando. Okay. Anything else? I'm going to keep this fairly short today. And let me see. I do want to share the address of my blog, because there's some good information there, including a link to getting this book, the Art and Science book, which is, for my money, if you can only have one book, that's the book to have. If those of you are interested in going to Low Carb USA, I will be attending that. And there's a link to that in the sidebar of my blog. And just starting today, if you click on that and go put in the discount code June100, you get $100 off the registration fee. So there's a lot of good information out there. Be careful of your sources. There's just a lot of misinformation. But find a source that works for you. Find what works for you without a source. I mean, a lot of this, if we really step back, it's intuitive. Listen to our bodies. Teacher Paula, Casey, how do you maintain? You're eating more fat? No, I'm doing exactly what I'm doing. If I was at very low body fat, if I lost all the body fat I wanted to lose, and my energy requirements remained the same or increased, that's when I would increase dietary fat. But I still have body fat I would like to lose. So I just keep on. I still listen to my body, and I don't eat if I'm not hungry. What that means is some days I don't eat very much. Other days I eat more. It depends on, we're not the same every day. We're not carbon copies. This is not Groundhog Day, as cute as that movie was. We are not the same every morning when we awaken. Our needs are different. Barometric pressure is different. Our body chemistry can vary. So I still listen to my body. And I work at not eating if I'm not hungry and stopping when I'm satiated. It is a practice every day. Sandy Lato says, a local nutritionist has a radio program, and she just said that being in ketosis is very bad. Please comment. Well, she's wrong. Ketoacidosis, which is a very different thing, is very bad and dangerous if you're a type 1 diabetic, and only type 1 diabetics really are at risk of getting into ketoacidosis. Type 1 diabetic, not type 2. It's extremely elevated beta hydroxybutyrate and ketone byproducts in the blood, in the system, but that's for type 1 diabetics. Sadly, some nutritionists and some doctors still don't know the difference between ketosis, which means burning fat for fuel, and ketoacidosis, which means there's actually an acidosis. There's a problem for a type 1 diabetic. I've been in ketosis essentially nonstop for over 5.5 years. Just about. Okay. Hearts and hens. I've been doing keto for 3 months now and I've only lost 5 pounds. Very discouraging. I'm about ready to give up. Well, there's not very much information there. Are you in ketosis? Have you reduced your carbohydrate intake sufficiently to the point where you're burning fat for fuel? If so, if you're burning fat for fuel, are you over-consuming dietary fat? By that, are you pounding back bulletproof coffee, MCT oil, coconut oil, butter, fat bombs? Are you simply eating more food than you need? Ultimately, calorie intake matters. Think of it as fuel. If you're eating when you're not hungry, when you don't need it, yep, that can be an issue. Okie dokie. Okay. Any recommended books to get started? I know nothing about keto. The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living by Drs. Stephen Phinney and Jeff Bolick is like I said earlier, you must have come in late. If there was only one book I would get that one. It is sciencey, but it's approachable. And there you go. There's a link to that. And Karen Craig says they're discovering that ketosis can recharge the brain for Alzheimer's. Just watch a program. That might be overstating it. There is ongoing research. There's some helpful stuff, but let's not overstate. Ketosis is not a miracle cure for everything. And sometimes damage is too far gone. So let's be careful and measured. Okay, guys, I'm going to wind it down. Thank you very much. Thank you to the patrons who showed up. Thank you for your patronage. Again, most of my content is for patrons. $2 a month gets you 20 videos a month and a patron-only forum. And thank you very much, Patricia. Says, have a great, wonderful day. And really appreciate you. But make it a good day. Step away from the computer. Stop thinking about food. Go live your life. The whole point of feeling better and losing weight and all that stuff is to enjoy your life and to be able to live it. So go live it. Step away from the talking heads, including this one. All right, guys. Thank you so very much. If you're in the Greensboro area on June 10th, come on to the Go Keto with Casey meetup. Half price wine by the glass. But you don't have to drink wine. 6:15. Now I'll put a thing on my Facebook page, and I'll put something on my blog as well about the event. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.